Have you ever considered living full-time in an Airbnb, just selling the house, traveling the world, and living in someone else's home? Well, we have. We're about to do it again, and I got some stories to tell you. Hi, I'm Rick Higgins, and yes, for months on end, I have lived in an Airbnb throughout Europe, and it has been, well, pretty great. I mean, it hasn't been without its hiccups, but generally speaking, it's been pretty good. So let me explain all of that pretty good and maybe throw in a few, well, maybe not so goods as well. For those not in the know, Airbnb is a service/app that allows you to essentially be your own hotel, to rent a room or your entire place safely. And we've been on both sides. When we're out gallivanting about the globe, we rent our house in Miami through Airbnb. So you can say we've got some experience. But you want to know what it's like to be on the staying side, right? Let's start with finances. Both in 2017 and 2019, we were living throughout Europe, and we obviously needed a place to stay. Now, we could have chosen a hotel, but even if you had picked a place for, say, $100 a night, that's over $3,000 a month, which would have seriously broke the bank. I mean, $3,000 a month just for a place to put your head on a pillow? Now, both of those trips, we primarily stayed in Barcelona, Spain, which is a major city with major city prices. We also stayed in the beach neighborhood, which is called Barcelona, and it's a little more expensive. Both times we had an entire one-bedroom flat all to ourselves, and they both came with all utilities and internet. And we only paid $35 a night. So let's do a little math. At $35 a night, if you stay there an entire month, you're spending just over $1,000. Now, I know that sounds expensive, but when I was living in Miami Beach, it would have cost well over $2,000 a month just to have the exact same apartment with the exact same utilities and the exact same internet. So by staying in an Airbnb in a major city like I was living in Miami, I could actually save money by more than half. Now, there is a huge benefit to staying in Airbnb that you probably didn't know, and that is you are so much closer to the culture of a place than you could possibly have any other way. Now, in 2017, we ventured away from Barcelona for 2 trips, one to Dublin, one to Mallorca, and both of those times we Airbnb'd rooms instead of an entire apartment. And both times worked out pretty well. We had our own private bedroom, we had our own private bathroom. Well, on one of them, we didn't have a private bathroom. In Dublin, we actually had to share it with the couple that was living there in their 2-bedroom, 1-bath, small apartment. I know that sounds kind of horrible, doesn't it? I mean, you want your privacy, right? But both times it was pretty incredible. Now, in Dublin, we didn't get to see our hosts much because they were working and they were going to school. So the shared living room, kitchen area, we pretty much had to ourselves. But in Mallorca, we had the most incredible host. He lived there with his girlfriend, and it actually had its own private bathroom for us, by the way. But we got to talk to him. He had been living there for many a year, and he had insight into the place, into the city, into the beach, into the town that we never could have gotten anywhere else. When we came back from a day's trek, we were able to discuss with him what we saw and what we did and get instant feedback. And that is how Airbnb can just connect you so closely with the culture and with the place that you are, because you got your own built-in native tour guides. Okay, admission time. Life in an Airbnb, well, it ain't always grand, so let's do story time. So in 2019, we're staying in Barcelona, and our apartment came with a Wi-Fi. That's what they call Wi-Fi. I never quite got used to saying that. But anyway, it came with internet access. Well, it was supposed to come with internet access. At some point during our stay, somebody decided to rip out the entire network and the entire building and replace it. But in true Spanish fashion, there was a long lag time between the rip out and the replace. Now, I was remotely working at the time, so no internet wasn't a nuisance. It was a deal breaker. But our host managed to pull some Spanish strings and get a temporary solution. This. What you're looking at is a temporary router that was strapped to the railing just outside of our apartment, and it was a low power router at that. The only way we could get any signal was to prop the front door open, and the bedroom was in the very front of the apartment, and I had to sit on the edge of the bed and work because that was the only way I was going to get any signal. But for the half of our trip there, at least I had internet. A lot of people have asked me if it feels like you're staying at home when you're someone else's home, or does it feel like maybe you're invading their space? Well, the answer to that is, well, kind of yes and no. Let me explain. I mean, on the upside, in Amsterdam, we Airbnb'd a place. It was the bottom basement floor of a townhouse, and it was set up kind of like a hotel. It was very nice, but they had this doorway that went into the storage area, which went into where they lived. And while I didn't go in there and rummage around the boxes, it was kind of fun to stand there at the doorway and peek around and be a little nosy, so you did have some entertainment. Okay, seriously, depending on where you rent, it can feel like you're living in someone else's home, at least for a while. It kind of depends on how you see things. Do you love having your own things all around you? Well, if so, you're going to need a lot more suitcases, I'm just saying. But these places, they do grow on you. For instance, we Airbnb'd an apartment in Cologne, Germany, and it was nothing like any home that I ever would have created for myself. It was completely white. It was like living inside of a ping pong ball. So no, that first week, it felt nothing like home. But by the time the second week was over and we were ready to leave and fly back home, well, I didn't want to leave it. It became familiar. Perhaps it's just seeing the same thing day in, day out, but it sort of does become your own. And the other benefit is by staying in a place that's not really your own, you get to experience the culture of the place where you are, because a lot of the way they decorate, a lot of the way the homes are put together reflects the place that you are. So that is why we almost exclusively stay in Airbnbs whenever we travel. And with that, be healthy, be happy, and we will see you soon.